Hey there, today we're going to be looking at fitting a fuel can to an RT Spyder, but it won't be this Spyder. This is my 2021 Spyder, which already has a can on it. Today we're going to be looking at fitting it to a pre-2021 Can-Am Spyder. It's a little bit different, so let's see how we go. We're here with Phil, and this is his 2017 Can-Am Spyder. Phil is going to take off the footrest and he's going to assemble the fuel can holder and show us how it's all done.
Okay, well, the socket set that you'll need for this is in your tool pack under the seat. So we just grab the socket and the shaft to undo it with. Okay, once you've loosened it, it should be easy to take off. Okay, and this just pulls off. There we go. This is the contraption and the parts that we've added to the fuel can holder so that it will attach to the side of the Spyder where the passenger footrest was. Obviously it will screw into the tooth nut that already was there for the footrest, so it can lock into the various heights that you want it. I tend to have mine right down the bottom, and there's a shaft here which is like a dowel, a metal dowel, and all that is there for is to make sure that the mechanism doesn't rotate. So here we go. Okay, so that's how simple it is. You may need to tweak this a little bit for your machine when you, well, depending on the lengths of the nuts that you get. This top post may need to be shortened up a little bit just so it's not inhibiting the screw from going all the way into this nut here. So I'm going to show you, well, I'm going to put the footrest back on. And same way as I took it off.
This is Phil's fuel can holder removed from the bike, so we can have a look at all the parts that are involved. This part here and also the plate come with the fuel can when you buy it, and we have a couple of bits and pieces. This one here will need to be made. It's a 25mm piece of tubing which was cut from a piece of tubing that comes at 600mm length. It's 9mm ID and 13mm OD. We need two of those, so we have one here and one there. We have an 8mm nylock nut, and this screw here is an 8mm button head Allen screw. This one down here is just a normal Allen screw, and that is 75mm long. And this part here, that's a 50mm washer. You may have a little bit of trouble finding one of these, but I'm pretty sure that a piece of flat plate with a hole in the middle would do the job just as well. This is the exploded view, if you like, or all the components that Phil had to make or to buy to be able to make the holder. Now, this plate here is the one that Phil modified. This is what it looks like when you get it out of the box, and it comes with all the various bits and pieces. So make sure you get it one with that plate. So what Phil has done here is he's modified this plate, and he's drilled a hole in the center and another hole here. Both of these holes should be around about 8.5mm or even 9mm. Now, the center distance between this hole and this hole is 25mm, and you can see how they're in line down here. That's really important because when you put there we go, that needs to line up just like that with the hole that comes in the mounting bracket. Now, coming down here, these are the bits that you'll need to buy or make. This one here, this is what they call a button head Allen key, and it's different to a normal Allen key head because it's not quite as high, and that's very, very important, so that when it goes in through the plate, it doesn't protrude beyond this face here on the mounting bracket. If it did protrude, the fuel can would rub into that, and the fuel can being made of plastic, yeah, not a good idea. Okay, so this screw here is 40mm long, and it's an 8mm metric bolt, of course, 8mm, 40mm long button head screw. You'll need that. Now, this part here, the bush, I made that from a length of tubing that I bought at the local hardware store. That's what it looks like, but it's 600mm long when you get it, and I just cut it down to 25mm in length. So it's 9mm ID, if you can get 8mm or 8.5, probably 8.5, but 9mm is fine. 9mm ID, and it's around about 13mm OD. And this is just a plain lock nut. This one's a nylock nut, which goes onto the end of that screw. So this goes through like that, and that goes on there, and then that goes through that hole there. Down here, this is the bolt that goes right the way through the center. So it comes from there, it goes through, but first of all you put a 8mm washer onto it. So the 8mm washer comes in and it sits sits down here, that goes through the plate, and then on the other side of the plate you put another spacer or a piece of tube, the same as this one. It's the same material, 9mm ID, 25mm long, and that will go over it. So this one here is a 50mm large washer. That might be a little bit difficult to source. If you can't get it round, then maybe a bit of plate and drill a hole in it, and also a cutout here that will allow it to fit around this little locating lug that we have here. These are the cans that both Phil and I bought online. This particular can here is from Alibaba, but you can get them on a number of e-commerce sites, no matter what country you're in, and they will deal with your local currency. We bought the cans with the optional locking mechanism, but you can get the can cheaper if you don't particularly want that. It's best to shop around because I did find exactly the same can on another e-commerce site and it was 4 times the amount. So shop around a few of the e-commerce sites and I'm sure you'll be able to come up with a bargain. They're cheap, they work really well, they're strong, we've had no problems. These are the parts you'll need to be able to make the fuel can holder. An 8mm by 40mm button head Allen screw, an 8 by 75mm Allen screw. It could be any type of Allen screw, but you want something with a deep enough socket portion to be able to get a good grip with your Allen wrench as you put it down the centre of the holder. An 8mm lock nut, an 8mm lock washer, 2 25mm long aluminium tube spacers, 1 50mm washer, or if you can't find the 50mm washer, then maybe a 50mm piece of flat bar, 50mm long with a hole in the centre of it should do it, and that's just about all you're going to need.
Okay, so all in all I think it's pretty simple and pretty easy to locate and take back off. Same with the footrest, taking it off, putting it back on. Took me a little extra time putting it back on just because I couldn't locate the nut into the screw at first. But I think it works well. It holds the fuel can well, and it's a good little mod.
Thanks for watching, and should you want to make one of these, you shouldn't have too much of a problem if you're a little bit handy and are able to locate the parts. So if you've enjoyed this video, maybe a thumbs up, and you might even like to subscribe down below, that'd be great. So until next time, go well.
And screw into the tooth nut with a long shaft Allen key. Okay. Oh, hang on, Lenny. We need to get rid of the washer.